everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and I'm in front of my rearranged bookshelves, which took a million years, and there's still so many books that didn't end up fitting in there, so I'm probably gonna end up having to buy a new bookshelf eventually. There's gonna be a whole video coming on that reorganization, so as soon as I edit all that stuff, I'll get it uploaded. So I'm here today. I forgot what I was doing. I'm here today to do my May wrap-up. I should have done this a long time ago, but I didn't, so we're doing it now. I finished a total of 12 books this month, which I'm very, very, very proud of, seeing how this entire year I'd only read 6 books up until then. So that's really exciting for me. Let's just get started. So the first book that I read this month was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I actually listened to it on audiobook, and I highly recommend it. I loved the narrator for it. He has just like a very I don't know, dreamy voice. This story is about a boy named Laszlo Strange who is a librarian, and he's always dreamed of visiting this mythical city of Weep. But everyone's kind of given up hope on it and thinks he's a fool for studying it, and one day a caravan comes who wants to go to Weep and needs experts on it, and they recruit him. And it's fantastic. I loved it so much. It's so dreamy, and everything that was great about the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy was fantastic in this, because her writing was really the best part about that, and she got to really get into that with this whole mystical setting. It was great. Magical. I meant to say magical. The next book I read this month was The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight by Jennifer E. Smith. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it. I read it in one sitting. I just wanted a quick and easy read in between that and all the other fantasies that I was reading. And it really did the trick. It's a super cute story about a girl and a guy that meet at an airport because they're going to the same destination, and that's about it. The next book I read this month was Restore Me by Tahereh Mafi. This is the 4th book in the Shatter Me trilogy. I know, a trilogy that got more books. I loved the Shatter Me trilogy. It was just so good. I really loved Tahereh Mafi's writing again. She has very poetic style writing. It's really great. I feel like I can't talk today. She has a very poetic style of writing. The ending for this was explosive. I really didn't know what was going on, and I was just in shock. I did kind of call one little part of the ending, and so it left me mildly bummed that I was oh yeah, that is actually what happened, but it was still it blew me away. I could not put this book down. I swear I had it. This was a one-day read for me. I just read it and I couldn't put it down for one entire sitting. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Just because, again, there was some very slow parts. It was more of a character development book, which I really did enjoy because character development is cool and all, but not a lot happened, but it was still great. Next up is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I do have a book talk on this if you want to hear my more thorough thoughts on it. I just want to give a little summary for this right now. It follows the inner circle during the winter solstice. It's not a very plot-driven book. It's very character-driven. It's a lot about how the characters are dealing after the events of Akawar. I did expect a lot more from this, and it read like a fan fiction. I totally agree with everyone that said that. I still gave it 4 out of 5 stars because I still loved the characters, and I expect that kind of character shenanigans from Sarah J. Maas at this point, so it wasn't a surprise to me. But I don't truly believe that you have to read this for the next set of books that she's coming out with in this world. I just don't think it's very necessary. If you do want to, it's the last 20 the last chapter. Okay, read that, because that's the only thing that actually puts any sort of perspective on what the next books are going to be on. So, yeah, still really good. I still love these characters. I was just expecting more. The next book that I read this month was An Ember in the Ashes by Tahereh. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I actually listened to this on audiobook as well, and this was my first experience with a dual narration where there was a guy for Elias and a girl for Laia, and I really enjoyed it. I was kind of confused at first, and I kind of expected them to speak in each other's narrations. And when they didn't, I was a little disappointed because it's you already have the characters, might as well just have them speak for all the dialogue, but whatever. I did love, love, love this story. It takes place in a conquered kingdom of the scholars where the Empire has conquered them, and It follows Laya, who mostly just kept her head down, did as she was told, until her brother is taken by the Empire and she has to join the rebels to try and rescue him, where she will then become a spy for their top military school. And then we follow Elias, who of course is the top student at this top military school, and of course their paths collide, and it's really great. I thought that this book was a lot of setting up for what the next book is gonna be, so this one felt a little slow to me, which is why I kind of like knocked off a star, because it was fantastic. I love the magic that they were kind of introducing towards the end and stuff, but I knocked off a star because it was pretty slow, but it was a lot of setting up for A Torch Against the Night, and I have a theory that it's just gonna be jam-packed with action, so I'm really excited to continue, especially since A Reaper at the Gates comes out this month. So the next book I read this month was Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. This is the prequel to the Throne of Glass series. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I also have a book talk on this and I will link it down below. It's just fantastic. I had never reread it before, and it was just so cool seeing how many Easter eggs Sarah J. Maas really does leave us. Like, there are things that she spoke about in this book that actually came into play in Empire of Storms, and of course Tower of Dawn, but like Empire of Storms, and I was just in shock. She is just the queen of Easter eggs, and I love it, and I love finding them, and it was great. I can't say enough good things about the prequel, but then again, I just love Sarah J. Maas, and I love Throne of Glass, so. The next book that I actually listened to on audiobook as well this month was Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. The movie's coming out really soon, and I've had this on my shelf for forever, and I really wanted to get it done before the movie came out, so I picked it up on audiobook after I finished An Ember in the Ashes. I think that for how dark the story is, since it is about adults turning against children, since the children have kind of mutated in a way. It's a really dark topic, but I think it was written really well. It was kind of light and fluffy. It was still really funny, and I liked the turns that this story took and just where it was going. The ending had me kind of pissed off. It was just, and that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but it was just a very, I don't know, not an ending that I would have wanted. After that, I listened to Fangirl on audiobook by Rainbow Rowell. Let me just say, I loved this book. 5 out of 5 stars. It was just so cute to see Kath and her fan fiction and seeing her as a writer and really just developing in her first year of college and trying to figure out how like her relationship with her twin sister was gonna like work out, and her father and her everything. Like, I loved seeing the family dynamics in this. I loved seeing like the friendship dynamics. I loved Levi. I loved her. It was just so fulfilling, and the ending was just so beautiful, and I don't have enough good things to say about this, and I'm so sorry I didn't pick it up sooner. So sorry. After that, I read The Hidden Oracle by Riordan. This is the first book in the Trials of Apollo series, and I did really like it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I just felt like, I don't think it was what I wanted at the time, so I feel like it's almost an unfair judgment of what the book was. I love Apollo as a narrator. Those like, he's just having his own narration, like he's really telling the reader things, like, oh, I'm sorry you had to read that at one point, and I was like, oh. So I did really enjoy that as well. I loved the ending. I think Rick Riordan makes some of the best endings ever. It's just fantastic. And I do really want to pick up the next book, The Dark Prophecy. But I decided that I think I wanted to listen to this on audiobook. I think it would be really fun to listen to, just because, again, Apollo is such an enthusiastic narrator. I am currently like waiting for it in my library audiobook line. Probably my favorite book besides Fangirl, I don't know, they're probably top 2, that I read this month was This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is the first book in the This Savage Song series, and it's so good. This is my first Victoria Schwab, V.E. Schwab book ever, and I just have to say, I loved it. It was fantastic. I listened to this on audiobook too, and this also had the 2 people narrating for the 2 different people. The story takes place in a city named Verity, where every violent act committed turns into a monster. There are 3 different levels of monsters. There's the Korsai, the Malachi, and the Sunai. and it just depends on how bad of a crime it was, what kind of monster forms. So this city is split because the top half wants to just pay for their safety from the monsters, while the bottom half wants to fight for their freedom, and the different leaders just split the city down in half. The top half is led by Harker, who is a very just awful, corrupt man, and the bottom half is led by Flynn, the Flynn family. And so we're following Kate Harker, who is obviously Harker's daughter, and August Flynn, who is the Flynn's son, and they meet at school and shenanigans ensue. And the last book that I listened to this month was Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I gave this, I think, 1 out of 5 stars, maybe 2 out of 5 stars. I was so excited to read this after I had such a good time with Fangirl. I was so ready to fall in love with the characters, just like in Fangirl, and I was ready to love it and just like feel for it, all of the feelings. This also, oh no, did I say that This Savage Song has a double narration? And this also had the 2 people narrating for the 2 different people. I totally lied. It has 1 person narrating, but she's just really good. I don't know. But Eleanor and Park does have 2 people narrating for Eleanor and Park, which was okay. I think I could have done without it. Okay, so it was kind of hard for me to get into it in the very beginning because there was just so many pop culture references, and it's like, I get it, you're in the 80s, I get it. Then I started to really like it, and then Eleanor and Park's relationship started, and it just felt so unrealistic and so forced, and just, he was so sweet and she was just, I know she was dealing with a lot, but it was just so frustrating to read from her perspective. I was really left confused for most of it because I wasn't sure if she was being unreliable in the way that she narrated herself or if Park was. I was kind of just confused as like who I was picturing, and it was weird. And the ending is the real reason I think that I like knocked all the stars off, because I think I would have given it at least 3. But the ending, I was so just I didn't get any sort of closure at all from that ending. I was just sitting there and I was like, so what does that mean? I'm just confused. I didn't like it. I again didn't like where Eleanor was at. I don't know. I didn't like this, and I wanted to like it so bad, guys. So yeah. Oh wait, I forgot to talk about. Alright, another book that I read this month was The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 2nd book of the Mistborn trilogy. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I love how much Vin actually grows in this. She has the most character development out of basically anyone, but Ellen as well. I think everyone just really improves in this story, and I thought it was just fantastic to read from them and to see where the story was going. It was pretty slow, but I kind of expected that from Brandon Sanderson at this point. He has a very like slow style, and then he just jam-packs the end with action. So the ending was super cool. Very cool. Also, what the heck, plot twist. Very excited to get to the last book. I'm just saving, I need time between these books. They are thick babies. But adult fantasy is always really cool just because it has such different topics than young adult, so it's interesting to read from. That's gonna be it for my wrap up today, and yeah, I will see you guys in my next one. So yeah, bye guys.
We're beautiful creatures.